Hey, it's me, Maggie J. Today with a review of the third and fourth episodes of Reservation Dogs Season 3. I know I'm a little behind, but I'm glad you're here to listen to me talk about one of my favorite shows. It's supposed to be a comedy show, but this season so far has been pretty heavy, so there's not been that many jokes. I'm not complaining, but 22 minutes just doesn't feel like enough time to really get into these issues before we're off to the next one. These first few episodes have been pretty much focused on Bear's journey, so it's been a bit more linear as far as Bear's story goes, but we only got one scene where we see him deal with his daddy issues, and only a few lines about what Maximus went through as someone who sees spirits no one else can, and then we have this episode about residential schools and how the Deer Lady came to be. It feels rushed, like we're only getting a glimpse of what these characters have been and are going through, and I don't think it's enough. I wish a few of these episodes could be longer so we can walk in their shoes a little more and really get to understand characters like Maximus and the Deer Lady and how they came to be who they are today. I know this is the nature of the television beast, and I guess each of these episodes leaves me exactly where every production wants their audience to be, desperate for more. So, great job, production team. Alright, let's talk about episode 3. It's called Deer Lady, and it answers so many of the questions I've had about her since season 1. She is an entity that was born and lived as a human until a series of events led her to becoming this. The timeline is choppy and flashes between her time as a young girl to now, where she and Bear share some pie at a roadside diner, but I'm going to start at the beginning. The first thing we're shown is a group of native kids riding in the back of a truck being delivered to the St. Nicholas Indian Training School by a guy named James Minor, better known to the kids as the Wolf. We're never told her name, but young Deer Lady is played by Georgianne Growing Thunder, who did a fantastic job in this role. As they're brought in, the native kids' hair is cut, they are given new clothes, and they are punished anytime they speak their own language or balk at the ways the nuns are running the school. At one point, Deer Lady's face is smashed into her plate of food because she asked what it was in her own language. One night, a young boy sneaks over to her bed and warns her not to test the nuns and to stay away from one in particular because she has a bad heart. This young man is played by Michael Podemski, who I assume is related to the Podemski sisters who play Bear's mother, Willie Jack's mother, and Aunt Teeny in the current timeline. We don't learn his name until later, but he is a catalyst for the Deer Lady's inception. He plays this role well, being very solemn and sweet while warning her of the pitfalls of living at the school and reminding her they can't take away her smile, so keep smiling. Over time, the strange language that the nuns speak starts to make sense, and we can recognize some of the words being spoken as English. I love the way they did this by having the kids understand nothing at first, and them being confused. It makes absolute sense, and it amps up how scared these kids are, being in a new place, unable to understand anything, while also showing the passage of time, and that they are assimilating into this new way of life. The kids continue becoming accustomed to the expectations and abuse, finding their own ways to cope. Sometimes at night, a kid is taken away, and they're never seen again. The smiling boy told Deer Lady nobody ever leaves unless they're going to the cemetery, and later we see some workers digging long, deep holes. Holes that size are only for one thing, and it's heartbreaking. This grave digging scene is juxtaposed with a scene of the children singing Jesus Loves Me, which I think is a pretty bold statement about how religion can be used to justify all kinds of atrocities. But that's just my takeaway. You're free to let me know how you felt about it in the comments. I'm sure there's plenty of different feelings that spring from a scene like that. One night, the smiling boy is dragged out of the room, and Deer Lady sneaks to follow behind them. It is not shown what happens after he is taken into this room, but obviously nothing good since those kids go to the cemetery after. Deer Lady is caught watching, so she bolts out the door while a nun follows and starts ringing a bell, shouting to rouse the attention of the others. Into the woods she runs, terrified and crying, and encounters a deer with glowing red eyes. It asks who she runs from, and if she wants help. They can run fast together. She begs for help, and the deer tells her to come closer. We don't see what happens, but we can hear a scream. Then two men who are chasing her through the woods find the body of one of the nuns, all smashed up on this tree. That leads us to today, where adult Deer Lady is in this convenience store bathroom, cleaning blood off of her antler. It must have been a rough kill because one of the points breaks off, but I'm sure she knows how to get another. Further down the road, we see her at a roadside diner, ordering 2 whole pies. Soon enough, Bear comes through the door, asking about a charger for his phone, but settling for some water since he's got no money. She invites him to join her at her table just as the pies are served, and they both indulge in the sweet treats. While they eat, she drops her book on the floor, and when Bear bends over to retrieve it, he notices her hooves and gets real scared. She is amused by his fear, but assures him he's in no danger from her. Bear reminds her of a boy she used to know. They finish up their pie, and she offers to take him home. She's got a stop to make on the way, though. We see them pull into a driveway. The sign out front says JM Farms, owned by James R. Miner. She leaves Bear in the truck, who takes the opportunity to finally charge his phone. She goes up to knock on the door, and an old man invites her in and offers her a glass of water. She is nervous and wipes away a few tears before entering and taking care of some business that's been decades in the making. For whatever reason, this old man sits down with his back to his guest and starts going on about the photos that he's looking at, old memories, how his son is pathetic, but he wasn't a great father either, whatever. Her memories flash back to the residential school, to that Jesus Loves Me song, to how they abused everyone in their care and dragged away her friend. She takes out her antler and buries it in his back several times. Blood spurts out of the wounds, dirtying up the fur collar on her coat and leaving a big puddle of blood beneath him on the floor. She leaves him slumped over his photos, including one of him and the nuns and the Deer Lady at the residential school. A very fitting end for a predator like the wolf. As she leaves, we can see a range of emotions running through her. She looks a bit unsettled, maybe nervous, but with every step, her usual demeanor takes over, and by the time she gets back to the truck, her expression is the one we're used to, confident and deadly. This is probably the most important kill in her career because she has now come full circle, at the mercy of people like the wolf, to someone whose name instills fear in others. Without his interference, she wouldn't have become who she is now, but she is also a murderer, just more justified than his motivations ever were. She tells Bear she'll take him home now. He can see the blood on her and asks if she killed someone back there, and she admits she killed a human wolf. They shake hands and thank each other. She assures him he won't become like his dad, and reminds him to keep on smiling. Mose and Miko are there to welcome Bear back, and they do not believe him that the Deer Lady dropped him off. They give him some advice to put stuff into his back pocket so it won't hurt so much when his mom whips his ass. And then we're back with the Deer Lady as she drives off to who knows where. We see another scene of her and the smiling boy, inviting her to go fishing with him one day. This scene reminded me of that one between Alora and Daniel, where he says his dream is to go to California and asks her to come with him. Same energy. Then we see a gravestone for Coda Littlebird, who was killed by human wolves. The picture on the stone is of the smiling boy. And that's the end of the episode. I can't believe how much story was packed into these 28 minutes. There's so much I want to talk about. I loved how much language was incorporated into the story, even though it was something that the kids would be punished for. The worst of the punishments was mostly alluded to, but the crosses and the digging of the graves showed there was no limit to how severe punishment could be. Not explaining or showing what caused the kids to be killed only amped up the fear and confusion and my anger, if I'm being honest. And those people who lived through this are still alive and able to share those stories, proving evil is never that far away. Great job to the child actors here, speaking the language and playing each of these characters with the right mix of emotions in each scene. Learning about residential schools is troubling enough, but then to play someone going through this, it weighs on the soul to know many of our elders lived through this, while some did not. And it is mostly overlooked in our current history classes. All of the elements of this episode came together so well. A bit of history, a bunch of tragedy, and a dose of magic all came together to create this being we know as Deer Lady. She knows fear and heartbreak like most of us never will, but also has the power to right wrongs and exert punishment on those who deserve it. But she's not an evil creature. She has a balance and knows how to nudge those on the brink back to safer ground, giving them good reason to fly right, or she'll be back. Like she's done with Kenny and Big, I'm sure she'll be back to visit Bear periodically, and that itself is a gift he appears to appreciate. There is so much more I could say, but I will stop here. 4+ pages is probably as much as I can get through without just crying for several minutes. I love this episode. The origin story, the attitude Dear Lady exudes, how Bear reacts and then grows more comfortable with her, how she reassures him his fate is in his hands based on the decisions that he makes. It's all very touching and beautiful and important, with a little bit of healing sprinkled on top. Now we move on to the next episode called Friday, where the dogs finally get their punishment for leaving town without permission. In the opening scene, they're playing bingo at the clinic for some reason. The Indian Mafia boys are there, along with some others that we don't know. The grand prize is 6 cans of Starkist tuna and a t-shirt from the Nard Symposium of 2017. Nothing but the best from these IHS guys. Out in the back, Leon's office, if you will, all of the dogs are gathered, along with Jackie, because she wasn't punished when she and Alora left town, and their punishment all takes place at the clinic where Auntie Bev works, so she's lumping Jackie in with the rest of them. Leon tells Alora she'll be gathering the trash, and her job at the convenience store has actually prepped her for this. Willie Jack and Cheese are supposed to clean off the graffiti Dick Willie Jack spray painted onto one of the walls at the front of the clinic. Leon definitely has a way with words here. I loved it. Bear wasn't given a specific task, but he has a broom in his hand when it's all over, so I'm guessing he's on floor duty. Out in front of the clinic, Fixico is at his usual spot, selling his real medicine, but he's acting a bit more out of it than usual. He says there's a lot of rain heading this way, but the sky is clear, so okay. Leon accompanies Alora throughout her duties and tells her he's glad they got to go to California. It was what they were supposed to do, but he's still grounding Willie Jack till she hits menopause. Later on, he explains this clinic runs exactly the way he's designed it to, but the downside is he can't leave or it'll all fall apart, unless he finds a successor. Maybe it could be her. She says she's thinking about going to school. He hopes not too far away and says if she goes to Oakern Community College, she can work for him in the afternoons. That's how he got his start here. Aww. He sweetens the deal by showing her he has a key that opens the vending machines. She can have free flaming flamers whenever she wants. She is tempted, but says she's trying to quit. But in the next scene, they're both sitting down to some free chips and sodas. Right on. Bear and Jackie work together to clean the floors of the clinic. These two are getting along more and more throughout the seasons, and that makes me happy. She asks if he really met Dear Lady, and he explains about her hooves and how he thought she was gonna kill him. But they just shared some pie, and he might be an accessory to murder now, but she's the one who brought him home. Jackie doesn't believe any of this, but he tells her that's not even the craziest part of his journey. And then he gets close and whispers to her about star people and eggplants. But she believes him even less now. Auntie Bev notices this little exchange of Bear whispering to Jackie and smiling like a fool and reads way too much into it. She warns Rita she's going to be a grandma soon, but don't worry, Bev will help her take care of the baby on the weekends. Mose and Miko come by for medicine, and Fixico hooks them up with a little stinkweed because that's all he ever gives them. Willie Jack asks how he knows exactly what to give people. Cheese, who has been scrubbing the wall by himself this whole time, steps away and says he's done. Willie Jack asks if he's blind and gives him a bit of a vision test, confirming, yeah, he's fucking blind, which we have known since season 1, so she tells him to go to the eye clinic and pick up his glasses. She'll finish scrubbing the wall. Finally, White Steve wins the bingo game and is overjoyed at receiving a free t-shirt. The clinic boss even daubs him up with some face stripes and gives him an Indian name, Sour Sofky, while Bev is in the background bitchin'. In the eye clinic, Natalie is filming TikToks and Cheese is just in time to help her out. Then she gives him his glasses and he is shocked after putting them on and noticing all the details he's been missing out on. Like that Natalie is beautiful. Elora is wiping down the counter in front of Bev's desk when Big walks up. Earlier, Bev had walked in on Big while he was not wearing any pants, and apparently she is pretty impressed with what he's working with. I'm a bit uncomfortable watching this exchange, but go get you some. I guess? Elora asks if she can get a copy of her records for school, but what she's really doing is trying to find out who her father is. Once she gets her paperwork, we learn it's a guy named Rick Miller, who she's obviously never heard of before. Okay, so I was wrong about her being Kenny Boy's daughter, but I'm still gonna have steak and shrimp because that's just my diet. Back to Willie Jack and Fixico, and he tells her he'll be going to that happy hunting ground in the sky soon. They both hope there'll be meat pies there. She asks if he will teach her how to doctor people up. He tells her she has to be serious, ask him 3 times, and then sit there and don't ask any questions. She is very excited. Everyone loves Cheese's new glasses, but he's not sure how he feels about them. But their Day of Atonement is over, so they all meet up and head out to Sonic's. And that's the end of the episode. Yet another one with so much going on, but it's mostly all happy, and I didn't cry at all. This might be the 3rd episode that didn't make me cry. I don't know what that says about me, but whatever. I loved it. This really opened up future options for nearly everybody involved. Elora found her father's name and was offered a job and might be attending school. Cheese can finally see, which might improve his artwork along with every other aspect of his life. Willie Jack might actually be on track to become a wizard like she's always wanted. Bear and Jackie weren't specifically given any future prospects, but they are becoming better friends, so I'm going to assume that will lead to better things for the both of them. It's tough to prosper when you're fighting a war, you know? So all's well that ends well, and this ended very well. With Sonic's! Yet another great set of episodes, and I'm almost not upset that they've been neglecting Willie Jack, Elora, and Cheese as far as screen time goes this season. As much as I want to see them, Bear's storyline is the main story here, so I understand why we've been focusing on him. I would like to see a bit of him and his mother discussing what has happened, but perhaps that's still coming. Somehow, things that I am confused about or have bitched about in the past have been coming around in this season, and I'm getting so many answers to my questions. I'm not sure if Sterling is watching these reviews or is just a master storyteller and had this plan in mind the whole time to pique interest and curiosity and leave us hanging, but only for so long. Either way, what is happening here is really making me happy, and I enjoy all of these episodes, so keep up the amazing work, everyone. That is all from me for now. I'll continue making these reviews as quickly as I can. There is a hurricane coming, so I'll probably have a little bit more spare time due to being rained out of work, and hopefully the power grid will hold up and I'll be caught up by the end of the week. Fingers crossed. I appreciate you coming by to listen to me about this show. I hope the rest of your week is lovely, and y'all stay safe out there.